Hi, everyone. It is Susan Gerbic from Psychics Explained, and I have just finished all the Tyler Henry videos that I plan on watching for the foreseeable future. Please don't make me have to watch anymore. But I've been following Thomas Tyler Henry's career since 2016, January of 2016, before he even started his Hollywood mediumship um, show, his career, when Dr. Phil was touting him on his show. And somebody wrote to me and said, "Who's this guy? They're saying he's the real deal." And I'm like, "I don't know. Let's find out." And that's when I started, January 2016. And I've written numerous articles about him, and I've done many videos about him. And now I have watched, and you guys have helped me out watching these with me, the first four episodes of Live on the Other Side. And that's all I plan on watching. Four 40-minute videos is enough. So they're all on my playlist, along with all the other videos I've done. And I just feel like I'm done. So I wanted to make a video that sums up the four videos. I really think it's important to watch things in its entirety and not pick bits and pieces to prove your point. And so I try to watch everything once. And I try to watch it fresh as if, we're all watching it together for the first time and the only time, sort of to simulate that if we were one of the sitters, what would we notice? Of course, it's not really the same thing because we're able to stop and think about it and we're not motivated. This isn't having an emotional appeal to us necessarily. So we can take our time and do it, but of course we still miss things. I've got a paper and I can write down things that are going on, and then people in the comments or who are watching it live with me will be able to say, "Oh, did you catch that?" or "Did you see that?" And so it's not exactly the same thing, but my style is to watch it live and make comments as I think about it. And of course, sometimes things come up later, and that's just the way it is. So I want to sum up these four. Now, this is completely different from hot reading, which is what typically happens with Hollywood medium. He goes into the venue. He may not know who the person is he's going to be reading for, but once he enters the door, before they sit him down to actually do the recording, which there's time, he can easily excuse himself to go to the bathroom or someplace where he can take his phone and he can Google and read the Wikipedia article for whoever it is he's going to be seeing. So those are usually, in my opinion, hot readings. He knows who he's going to read after he's walked in the door. Maybe not before, but after. It really does not take long to read the personal history section of a Wikipedia page to get what you need. You can also go onto their Instagram, Facebook, wherever. Most of these celebrities are oversharers, and it's not hard to find information. And if not, you can always revert to cold reading. And then if that doesn't work, you have to remember that Tyler Henry is in Hollywood. He is the Hollywood medium. He's invited to tons of parties. He's very social. He's the talk of the town. He can, and of course he can watch TV and Netflix and videos and all kinds of things. So he can see who all the hot new people are out there, the celebrities who are most likely to be on the show, or maybe some old people who we wouldn't normally have heard from them in a long time. There was a lot of those on when he did Hollywood Medium. Now it seems like on this Live on the Other Side, they seem to be up and coming Netflix people, stars of Netflix shows. And I went and looked up a couple of them and I was pretty scared. Oh my gosh. I looked up one who looked very sweet and innocent on the fourth episode, and I looked him up today, his show, and he is raunchy. Oh, and just very, if that was my kid, we'd be having, well, he would not have been my kid, put it this way. I would not have raised a child like that. But then, I'm not old fashioned, but let me tell you, I would not put up with that kind of, anyway. So I have written an article for Skeptical Inquirer, as I usually do, and this will sum up the four episodes. And I have that here, the text here, and I'm not going to read it to you or anything, but I would like to use it as a guide to sum up kind of the thoughts I had as um, I went through these videos. And I do really think it's important to try to look at a huge body of work or a large body of work for a medium instead of just like one reading or anything like that. I like to look at as much as I possibly can stomach, and then you get a feel for it. You see that they use the same tropes over and over, the same um, kinds of things, over and over. So Tyler Henry overuses the word something and someone all the time. He's using something and someone, and that's because he doesn't have anything specific. So he uses those phrases to make it sound like he's talking about something, but it's like asking a question. Somebody said, or they said, or she said, or who is it that? He asks a lot of questions. If you watch, and like I say, and really pay attention to it, the people who are the sitters, the people on the couch, probably say more than Tyler does. And most of what Tyler says are questions. Who is this? Who is that? Who would you like to hear from? Do you have any questions? And then he does, I have an M name. I'm getting a D name. Who connects to somebody who died before they would have been expected to die? Who was it who had a younger brother who died? Who was it who had a family member who had a brother who died? Who was it who was in the military? Um, how does that resonate with you? On and on. It's lots and lots of questions because Tyler is cold reading. I know that people want to argue with me and say it's hot reading. It is not hot reading. He is cold reading. It is so obvious to me. So let's just go through these 4 episodes, just, somewhat. Okay, I made pretty good notes over here in the article that I've written. So let's see. Okay. So Tyler does start out talking about how, and actually Netflix does say these are meaningful, these are readings for people to be able to feel like they are getting something out of it. They feel very good when they're done. They are reflecting on their lives. They have like meaning of some sort. And darn it, that's true. In the same way that you could go to a movie and watch a tear-jerking movie and you leave the room movie theater feeling like you had a good cry and you feel good. It's that same kind of feeling. It's up to the sitter, the person who's sitting, the person who's getting the reading to think about their life, think about their loved ones, and there's a feeling of like resonating with you. You've taken some time to contemplate your life, you contemplate your choices you've made in your life and your family members, and it kind of feels like there's an overwhelming something out there that's guiding you and is going to make sure everything's okay. And so it does make you feel better. And I put in this article. Let's see if I can pull up this video really quick. But it's Brocco the Grazer. I don't know if you've seen Brocco the Grazer or not. But what Brocco the Grazer does, okay, let's see if it won't control click. Brocco the Gazer, what he does is, now they call him a faith healer, but to be honest with you, he's not faith healing nothing. He is, let me show you a video of this really quick. Okay, I'm going to show you this video. I'm going to turn off the audio because the audio is not important at all. This is a man, I'll actually talk over it. This is a man who's gazes at people. And what he does is he can have thousands of people waiting in line to be gazed at. And they just quietly stare at him and he stares back at them. And he looks at him and he sees him and he never says a word. He isn't healing. He doesn't claim to be healing. All he's doing is being present and looking at them and seeing them. And people get very emotional, as you can see. So Bracco is giving them something, but all he's doing is they're interpreting it. They're seeing it the way, they're getting out of it what they want to get out of it, what is important to them. So I think of Tyler Henry's Live from the Other Side a little bit like that. People claim that Tyler Henry and other mediums are helping, and in a way they are helping, but in a way that is something you could do yourself. Read a good book, listen to some beautiful music or something that inspires you, look at art, see a movie. Those kinds of things could probably help you in the same way. And there wouldn't be all this other woolly stuff that's going on with the psychics. So that's what I think is going on, is that people badly want to hear, and they want to hear about themselves. Talk about me. And you'll see a lot of that going on in the couch. The people sitting on the couch with Tyler Henry there, you'll see somebody's always trying to take it from somebody else. Like they'll be like, "Oh no, that's mine." You can see him almost fighting over whoever it is he's talking about. That's how vague what it is that Tyler is saying. Okay. All right. So I don't know these people. Tyler clearly knows these people. I still don't think it's hot reading, even though it might creep in a little bit because he knows something about the people. He does a lot of really cold reading tropes. Who is it that has an M name? Who is it that had a sibling, three siblings? Where are there three siblings in your family? What about your dad's side? Do you have somebody who had a brother? I mean, you know what I mean? It's just tropey stuff. One of the things he said, and I watched 4 episodes, and in 2 episodes, he said the exact same thing. Well, the first one, he said, he wants to know about anyone who survived or dealt with a female cancer scare that was cervical, breast, ovarian, or uterus. And then the next time he said it, he said the same kind of thing, except he didn't say the word breast. So he said cervical, ovarian, or uterus, or a cancer scare like those, a female cancer scare. And as I've pointed out in all the videos I've done, a scare is pretty much anything. It can mean a lot of things to a lot of people, especially if we're talking about mammograms. You go in, you have a mammogram. I've had tons of them done. I've had breast cancer, and you go in and you have your mammogram done. And if you're like me, you have dense breasts. A lot of women have dense breasts. That means it's hard to see through, and they have to really take a more probing look into the tissue. And in the time you're waiting between, hey, I had my mammogram done, and hey, you need to come back because we need to look again, there's a lot of worry going on. You feel like there might be something going on. And so there is a cancer scare. It's scary. Cancer is scary. So he said that in 2 different episodes of the 4 I watch. And of course, people connected to it because everybody's had pretty much somebody in their family who's had a cancer scare or one of these other kinds of scares of some kind of feminine something. You know, Tyler, just tell us who it is and tell us what to watch for. And I think that maybe that would be more helpful than just saying somebody. All right. There was one. Oh, whenever he says, does anybody have any questions? Because he's starting to wind down. Anybody have any questions? And if somebody comes up and says, yes, I have a question, I want to hear from, and they have somebody specific they want to hear from, Tyler will usually come up with a platitude or two and kind of be vague and start scribbling in his notebook. And have that camera looking over above him, looking at the notebooks. There's no reason for that. The scratching in the notebook is just his gimmick, and it's just a way of him killing time while he's trying to think in his mind, where should I go next? There's nothing going on. He's just scribbling. There's no reason to be looking at that. It's just, I don't know, they think they have some visual or something that's, I don't know. I guess some people see something in that, but there isn't. Anyway, so whenever he has to come up with something specific, he usually gets pulled to somebody else. Ah, they're pulling me to somebody else. They're pulling me over here. They're pulling me over there. The guy is being pulled all over the place. He gets pulled all over the place whenever there's something that needs to be done specifically. He can't get it. He knows the person really wants to hear from a specific person, so he might say something, "Oh, yes, I am. I'm getting it." And he loves you. He's watching over you. He wants to know that, he loved meeting you. You're an inspiration to him, or if it's a family member, he's watching over you. His blood runs through your veins or whatever he could say, just something generic. And then, oh, I'm getting pulled over here about the time when it would be when he would need to name the person or come up with something specific, like how he died specifically, where he died, or when they died. So he avoids all that. It's pretty obvious if you watch for it. Then he also does a lot of if you tell him something specific, an answer to a question, he will turn around and say, yeah, that's what I was getting. So if Tyler says, if Tyler says, I'm getting somebody who had blonde hair and they really loved Christmas and they died near a holiday, but it wasn't Christmas. Then somebody says, yes, that must be my Aunt Louise. She died near Valentine's Day. And he'd say, yes, that's right. See what he did there? And then when the person remembers later, they don't remember that Tyler said, didn't give a name or a holiday or who that person would be in your life. He just said somebody, and you are the one that made the connection. But they remember it like Tyler knew my aunt died. She had blonde hair and that she died right around Valentine's Day. Oh my gosh, he is the real deal because he knew that when actually he didn't. It's just the way we are. We don't remember the misses, we remember the hits, and we reform it in our memory to mean what we think we want it to mean. So that's very common. That's why it's important to record your readings. Also, people give a lot of feedback. So it's because we're humans and that's how we're conditioned to do, is that when we're talking to people, we give a lot of indication of our inner thoughts, the way we pause, the way we insert ourselves into a conversation very quickly. Some people get flush. Some people might pale. Your eyes are very expressive. You open your eyes, or you narrow your eyes, or you do things with your mouth. So if you were able to record yourself getting a reading, I think that would be more helpful than recording the medium saying what they say, because mediums are very practiced. They've done thousands of readings. It's more interesting to see how much you are revealing about yourself. Are you starting to sweat? Are you just like fussy in your chair and you just can't sit still? Are you starting to tear up? The psychic can read all that because they're good at that. That's what they do. They've done thousands of people like that. So I think that's fascinating. And we can't see on the show everything that's going on. All we see is what the editors show us. There's cameras all over. There's a camera on Tyler, there's a camera on Amanda, the moderator. There's a camera that's showing all five of the people. There's a camera that shows all the entire set. There's a camera that shows each individual person. So we can't see what Tyler can see. So if Tyler says something and he gets a reaction to it, you and I watching the show might not be seeing what it is Tyler sees because the camera is only in one place at one time. And that's true of all mediums that are filmed like that. Actually, it's true even on Zoom, because if you're on Zoom with a medium, we can't always see what the medium can see. Right? So depending on the view, speaker view, or if it's gallery view, or if the psychic has the person pinned, you may not be able to see everything, especially if it's speaker view. Only one person speaking at a time. Whoever's speaking, their screen is big, and then the other person speaks. But yet the psychic can see, like a possibly can see the little squares of the person. Or then again, they could have them on pin, they could have had them pinned. So we can't always tell what it is they see. So they could be going off of body language and we just don't even know it. All right. Okay, now this one was crazy. And this is on episode two. I mean, yeah, show episode two. So Tyler, guys, I've been in the magic world, mentalism world for 15 years now. And when I saw him do this, I thought, oh my gosh, I was just cringing. It was like, oh, this is awful. So Tyler goes on to the show and he starts talking about paper that he's written something. Somebody hands him like there's a CD, one of those discs, and it's an envelope with a CD, or I can't remember if it was just the CD. And Tyler says, "Oh, I almost wrote down CD on a paper just before I came out here, but I thought nobody's going to bring a CD. Why would somebody bring a CD? So I threw that away." Well, we don't know if that's true or not. He could have just said that. And then he goes to a woman or to the people on the couch. He says, "Anybody have a name that's like starts with a D, like David or something like that?" And one of the, I think maybe he said Daniel, David or Daniel, and one of the women said, "Oh, David. Yes, I know of a David." And before we get too farther with David, Tyler's like, "Wait, wait." And he goes into his pocket of his jeans and he comes up with this folded piece of paper and he unfolds it and he shows it to the camera and it says David and big bold letters, like he wasn't using his normal scribble pencil. He was using like a big, like bolder marker. It says David on it. And he says, "Look, I wrote this down before came out here today." And I thought, dude, you're the one who said David. Anybody know a David? And he pulls out a paper. I he did that in episode two. And I was wondering if he's going to do it in all of them, but it was such a bomb. It was so awful. I mean, just awful. And the people in the audience, in the seats are like, "Oh, oh, that was really nice." They don't get it, or they're just trying to go, "Oh, shoot, that was really cringy. That was so awful." And then later on in the same episode, he's talking to this woman about her brother. He knows the brother's dead. And then, of course, he's asking questions and he says, "What's your brother's name?" And she says, "Gary." And he goes, "Gary?" And I thought to myself, did you forget to write down Gary? Were you planning on writing Gary on a piece of paper before you came out here and you forgot? Or, and this is a magician's trick. And of course, I'm going to reveal it because I'm not a magician. So, okay, this is old. So what you do is you put various outs, like several papers with people's names on it in several areas of your body, the pocket of your jacket here, or in one of your inside pockets, or inside your jacket, or behind your ear, or under your shoe, or in your back pocket. And you just got to remember which pocket has what name in it. So I can see him going, "Gary, I don't know which pocket I put the paper with Gary." Because you can't pull out a pocket and you pull out a paper from like inside your jacket and it says Peter on it. And I had this image of Tyler going, "Oh, it's in my shoe." And him going, "Wait a minute." He takes off his shoe and there's this piece of folded paper put in his shoe or in between his toes. This is Gary on it. Or the tricks they do where they go to this big elaborate thing and they write on a piece of paper and this big elaborate and there's an egg, there's a banana, there's a potato, there's an onion or a lemon or whatever, and or orange, and all of a sudden the magician opens up the banana and inside there's a piece of paper that has the word written on it that they're that's all I was thinking of whenever I saw Tyler do that. I thought, oh my gosh, maybe he needs a new career. Maybe he's been watching a lot of magic videos and he wants he wants to get a new career after this one bombs. It was awful. It was so awful. Anyway, you got to see that's on the second video. I think it's 19 or 16 minutes into the video, somewhere like that. I remember showing it to some mentalist friends of mine, and I said, I think it was 19 minutes or 16 minutes into the video. It's really bad. Anyway, I thought that was hilarious. Uh, I write about that in this article. So, okay, so the hits he got were, okay, on episode one, he said, he mentioned he knows the mom's dead, and he mentions that the mom likes Fleetwood Mac, which was an old 1970s, very, 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 very popular um, rock group with women in it. And it was, I think they had like number one album of the year for a long time, very popular. So if you lived in the 70s, especially the late 70s, maybe even into the 80s, I can't even remember, that was like big. So he says that this woman who grew up in the 70s loved Fleetwood Mac. And the daughter said, and I think he even mentioned a song, I can't quite remember, but the daughter said, we were going to, my mom wanted that played at her funeral because her mom knew she was going to die. She said, I want that music played at my funeral, that song. And the daughter said, no, we're not doing that, which seems pretty cruel. If mom says she wants to have happy birthday today or Merry Christmas, baby, or something, I think you should play it at her funeral if that's what she requests. I thought that was pretty rude to say, no, mom, we're not playing Fleetwood Mac at your funeral. So, but that was kind of a hit. Another woman, he asked her if she had a son. She had a son. That's a hit, I guess. Another one, he said he was reminded of a Gladys Knight song, and the sitter said, oh, my mom loved Gladys Knight. And of course, yeah, same kind of era. The mom would have grown up in that era. And yeah. Okay, another person, another time Tyler said on episode two, he says, I'm hearing April, May, June, but I'm not hearing him as months. I'm hearing him as names, somebody's name, April, May, or June. Does anybody have a name that relates to April, May, or June? And you got five people there and you've got three names, and April, May, and June are all common-ish names. And they're all like May is a very common middle name. April and June, I don't think so much, but I think June is much more of a Southern name. And the people sitting on the couch, I think all were Southerners. I think that was pretty obvious, and had come from like Atlanta and some other places. So April, May, or June. So somebody eventually remembers that their mother or their aunt or something's middle name was May. So everybody was like, "Whoa!" We're like, how long did it take you to come up with May? How many other people have May or in April or June somewhere in somebody's name somewhere? Okay. And if it doesn't hit, Tyler just doesn't mention it again, and they forget about it. It's only when it hits that you really pick up on it and you remember it. This one in episode three was hilarious. Tyler was hearing a state. I don't know. He says sometimes he sees, he hears, I don't know, smells, I don't know. He says he gets symbols and he interprets the symbols. He says he's getting a state, US state. There's 50 of them, right? Last I counted. This one starts with an M. So I did a quick search because I don't know these things. And I said, how many states start with the letter M? There are eight. Eight states start with the letter M. And there is another letter that has eight states, and that is the letter N. N is in Nebraska or New Mexico. So there are eight M states, and there are eight N states, and there are four I states, and there are four A states, and everything else is like one or two. Everything else. So if you pick a state of the United States, it starts with an M or it starts with an N, you have a 16% chance of getting it. 16% chance is pretty good. And when you're just making I'm getting a state that starts with an M, which could refer to a lot of things like where you vacationed, where your parents were born, you've got two of them, where somebody might have died, where you were born, where you were raised. I mean, there's a lot of associations with a state. And then he went on to say, oh, and then one of the sitters said, yeah, I was born in a state that starts with an M. And the person that I'm here to hear about, the person I want to hear about, also is from a state that starts with an M. So it's at least two of the eight of the 50, or two of the eight. A little bit later, he starts talking about ice skating, and he kind of makes it like it's outdoor ice skating, being outside. And here I'm in California. I was raised in California. I was probably 45 years old when I saw somebody, and I saw it was in Denver, Colorado, and I saw a lake with people on it skating, like just in the wild, like somebody's just pulled over the side of the road and there's a lake there, it's frozen and they're skating on it. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is just like the Peanuts characters. I, I don't get it often, okay? But I'd never seen anything like that. Like, really? They really are skating. Wow. Not like an ice skating rink or something in the city. They've got it all, frozen purposely for people to ice skate. So one of the women starts talking about how she was growing up and she was ice skating and something about one of the people, story about it. She's telling the whole story about it. This guy, I guess he ends up dying and is her cousin. And I thought to myself, okay, so there's 8 states that start with an M. How likely is it that those 8 states would be cold? And I started thinking about it. Okay, there's Maine, there's Montana, there is Minnesota, there is Missouri might have areas that would be very cold. I think Missouri gets really cold. Did I say Michigan? Which is all lakes. So I'm starting to think, well, then it's pretty likely that an M state would be a state that has a lot of cold in it. And so they'd probably have summers where they would go and could ice skate or snow or build, do toboggans or snow ski, or I would think that'd be pretty common. So I thought that was an interesting path. So if Tyler had thought that out and said, I think I'm going to go with an M state, and then I'm going to throw in cold weather into that. And I bet you I'll get a hit on that. I wonder if he thinks that far out or if he really does. I don't know. I can't get in his head because I'm not psychic. Neither is psych, neither is Tyler. All right. So, in episode 3, that was episode 3 about the letter of the state. In episode 3, he gets this really big hit. And thinking about how it happened, either he's got a really good hit, he said something and it really stuck, maybe he's psychic, which we know he isn't, or maybe something else was going on. He comes out and he says, I'm getting an ant-like figure, not like an ant, like a bug, but like an ant, a woman who serves a role not as a mother, but as a aunt. Okay, now you've got 5 people sitting on the couch. Lots of people have figures of women who might represent an aunt and not necessarily be your aunt. But then he said, because Tyler's mom's sitting in the audience, they include her just sitting in a chair. Tyler says to his mom, I'm remembering that time we went to that restaurant in California that was he named the city. What was the name of that place, Mom? And Mom says, oh, it was called Lynn's. Lynn's, Lyns, apostrophe S. He goes, yeah, Lynn's. And then a woman on the couch gets all excited because she has an Aunt Lynn. So was that a hit? Because he didn't say I'm getting an aunt named Lynn that applies to you. He says I'm getting a woman figure that's like an aunt. And then he throws out the restaurant name Lynn. And then this woman makes a connection to it. Also remember, Tyler can see the people on the stage on the couch and he can react to them as they are making some sort of reaction. We don't know. We can't see unless we go back and look and maybe we could see something. I don't know. But the camera's all over the place showing different people at different times. So it's possible he could have said something about an ant figure, and then he said Lynn's, and that woman reacted, and then he immediately said, he went right to her, and so then he was able to do the reading, and she's like, yes, I have an Aunt Lynn. So it might have been just spaghetti thrown on the wall and something stuck. I don't know. But later on, so you know how he does psychometry where he holds an object and he's stalling, looking at the object, playing with the object or whatever, trying to, it's nonsense, okay? He's just nonsense. So he's holding a bracelet. I think it was a gold-like bracelet. And he says, this belonged to Lynn and your Aunt Lynn. And she's like, yes. So that was really good. What we don't know was the bracelet engraved? And as he's holding it, he might see what's on the bracelet. Because from what I remember, and I could be totally wrong, it reminded me of one of those bracelets that had the chain link and then a solid mass at the top, like you would have somebody's name written on it or something. It was like a flat area and then like a thing, and then it attaches on the side like chain. I'd have to go back and look. Like I said, I only watched these things once, but that's what I thought whenever he got it. I thought, is it engraved? Because he's looking at it. You can see the hand holding the bracelet. It's not like inside a box or inside a bag or anything. It's there. I don't know if it had been engraved, if the person would have called him out on it and said, "Oh my gosh, that's amazing. You can read really good because her name's right on the bracelet." Or would they really bring a bracelet to something like that that's personalized? I don't know. I'm just saying it's possible. We don't know. Or it could be just, he got lucky in the way the wordplay. Again, I only watched the episode once. You can go back and look at it. That's episode 3. In episode 4, Tyler said something international is coming through. And I think he did this in episode 1 also, something about international. In both cases, he turned around and looked at the person who had the non-American accent. The person is clearly not from the USA. He has an accent. And so he says, I'm getting it something international here. And the person's like, oh, yeah. Can't tell at all from your accent that you're probably not from the United States. And there's probably we're filming in the United States. So there's probably is some kind of connection, right? Another man, he said, I, I see a man with a military connection. All hands up, everybody watching this that has somebody in your family that has a military connection. How many hands can I raise? The sitter says, oh, yeah, my grandfather's brother was in the military. That was pretty amazing that he had to go that far back to find somebody in the military. His grandfather's brother. So then Tyler also mentioned, now this is right at the end, I was just burned out at this point. He also mentions Queensland, which is a state in Australia. Well, Queensland, there's other Queenslands all over the world, but the person he's talking to is on a dating show called Too Hot to Handle. Tyler Henry knows this man. He says, I know you. He knows of him. He also knows the show because he alluded to that during the reading. So it's an Australian dating show. I don't know where it's filmed, and I don't know who this celebrity is until after I looked him up later. But Tyler could know because he's tuned in like that. And he's also got a nice, young, fresh brain, so his memory is pretty darn good. And when he mentioned Queensland, I don't think he mentioned it in relation to anything. I think he just said it's something about Queensland. And the guy says, yeah, I'm from there, or I'm in there. That's where I live. And there's only 6 states. They're like states, like the United States has 50. There's only 6 states in Australia. Tasmania is a state. New South Wales is a state. Um, Queensland's a state. Then I can't think of the other ones offhand. I feel really embarrassed. I've been there a couple times and I'm blinking all of a sudden, but there's 6 states. So Queensland's where they have Brisbane. It's a very big, big city, really big. And so it's not, when you throw out Queensland, it doesn't mean the guy, he didn't say you live in Queensland. He just mentioned Queensland. So it could have been where he's from, where he lives, where he has a job opportunity, where he just moved from, where he just came from that airport to fly into the United States. It could mean a lot of things, right? Um, okay. This was a hit. I thought was really good. Tyler, and it's kind of a trope because psychics use this a lot. He says, I'm getting the numbers that repeat 1111 or 333 or 911. He tells the woman, he's talking to a woman specifically, don't freak out, it's nothing bad, but I'm getting a frequency of numbers. Does that mean anything to you? And she's like, yeah, I have 1111 tattoo with 1111 because I see 1111 all over the place. Now, in the world of the psychic mediums, people who are believers, who are sitters, and they're really into this, they do see that is kind of a thing where they see the numbers a lot. They notice it and they think it means something. It's a sign. And it doesn't necessarily correspond to like a date of birth or the date somebody died or the time of the day somebody died. It doesn't always, it's just like they frequently see, 333. And like they'll look up at the clock and it says 333 and they freak out because they always look at the clock. It just seems like they're always looking at the clock and it says 333. Or they're going to get gas and the price is $3.33. That never happens. Or the item you want to buy at the store, or the last three numbers, or there's three numbers in some license plate, or you see it because you're looking for it now. At a certain point, you're looking for it. Numbers reoccur. Anyway, so it was freaky because the woman says, I have 1111 tattooed. I have a tattoo. And I thought, that's very good. He threw out 1111, and sure enough, she's got a tattoo with 1111 and means something to her. I thought that was really good until the moderator, Amanda, said, Chloe, if you feel comfortable, could you show us your tattoo? Where is it on your arm? Because she says it's on her arm. I'm thinking like up here. And so she goes, it's right here. And you can see lines, four lines, all straight lines like this. And they would have been, if Tyler was sitting right here, it would have been right here on her arm on this side. So I'm thinking this is towards at a point where Tyler's hugged her. They've all stood up. He's been able to sit there and look at her. And at some point, he might have just seen the 1111 on her or the lines, not knowing it was 1111. It could have just, because from what I saw briefly, it was just four lines with a space in between the two. So line, 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 line. And so this part of your arm, she was wearing a long sleeve shirt, but it wasn't down like this. It was, like this. So he could have easily seen her tattoo. And I think if you're a psychic who knows you're going to be hot reading or cold reading people, I think you're going to look at people's tattoos. And when you move, you can, depending on the clothing they're wearing, if they have something on the breast or their chest, you can kind of look if you're just talking to them and they move forward or on their neck, whenever they move their hair or something like that. They're not even aware they're doing that, but you can see part of a neck tattoo or you're looking for it. Tattoos on your rings, fingers. Um, it seems like something you would see, right? So it seemed like an amazing hit, but then I thought, oh man. So that was pretty much it. That was all the hits. I just gave you four episodes and all the hits that I could see that looked even slightly amazing, and they really weren't once you think about it. And at a certain point, you're going to get things just because you're throwing a lot out there. One of the things I wanted to mention, though, is that it's really awkward watching these celebrities who are very comfortable being in the public eye. As I say, they share a lot, they overshare a lot. For these people, they're putting out a lot of personal information on their social media, but what they're doing on the stage is they're giving a lot of personal information of their family and loved ones that they don't have permission to give. And as you're watching these, if you want to watch these things and listen, they're talking about their family members' mental health, um, medical health, pregnancy issues, disagreements, struggles of other kinds, academic, jobs, all kinds of things. They're talking about that stuff and they don't have permission to say what they want. And even if the person's died, it seems pretty disrespectful to be talking about people like that. For example, in the first episode, the the celebrity, she starts talking about her mother and her sister sitting next to her, and they're talking about their mother, and they talk about how what a life she had and how it was really tough, and that she was a hoarder, and that she, and on about her challenges she's had in her life and all these other struggles and stuff like that. And then there's other ones where they would be talking to people and they'd say, yeah, my dad left my mom, and now my mom's this, trying to struggle on her own, or, those kinds of things. One woman said that her mother, Tyler was talking about eyes, I think, an eye, I think, or, and the woman said, yeah, that's my mom. She's got all these problems with her eyes. She's waiting for a donor for something in the eye. And then the woman starts crying and everything. And Tyler says, yeah, there's a lot. That's why I'm seeing a lot of pressure. And she goes, yeah, that makes sense because pressure. And I'm thinking to myself, of course, pressure. When you have eye problems, that is the key word. People are always talking about your pressure on your eye. So Tyler he's got the information. Now he's just going to repeat it back to her as if he knew it all along. Pressure. He used the word pressure. Another one, oh my gosh, this is so awful. So I think it was Lynn, Aunt Lynn. So Tyler says she didn't have any children, did she? Which is how it's worded to kind of be either way. You can kind of say face if the answer is right or wrong. And she said, yeah, she did. And he goes, how many? She says, just one. Notice how many questions he's asking. And it's this woman and her husband. And so Lynn is the woman's aunt, her mom's sister. And so the woman, her name is Julie, she says, yeah, just the one child. And Tyler says, were there any miscarriages? And he's scribbling on his pad. Were there any miscarriages? And she says, not that I know of. And the husband, this guy, this dude, says, she had a whole bunch of abortions, though. I'm like, what did you just say? She may be dead, but I mean, my gosh, you don't say that kind of stuff. Do you talk about, I mean, that's really intimate and personal. And Tyler and Amanda, the host, they try to cover it up like, well, that was kind of yeah, that's kind of things people did back in the day. And somebody says, well, it's still going on or something. And I'm thinking, whoa, why did you have to say that? That was really rude and just very narcissistic of you guys. You're just so focused on yourselves and having and just letting it all out that you just don't care. And in two different episodes of the four I watch, there were men on there that were gay and said that they'd had problems with their family because they came out as gay and their family members had problems with it. And eventually they adjusted. But I thought, gee, do you really need to be telling that kind of story? One man said, I didn't have a great relationship with my father because he was very religious and we were from the South and we were raised Southern Baptist. And my dad, and I knew I was gay from the time I was 5. And my dad was, there's a lot of problems with this. So there was a little animosity and some problems with this for a while. Now we have a pretty good relationship, but yeah, it could be better. And I'm thinking, how does dad feel about that, hearing his son say that? I It might be true from the perspective of the son, but do we really need to air that on live Netflix with, hundreds of thousands of viewers, maybe millions of viewers? Do you really need to do it? The guy's name's right there on the screen. So that's what I mean. I thought this was just it's not only cringy watching Tyler do his thing, but it's cringy watching the sitters who are trying really hard to make things make fit. And one woman, he said, "I'm getting diabetes." You know, that somebody has diabetes. She goes, "We all have it. Everybody in my family has diabetes." And I thought, "Oh, really? Do we need to?" Oh, it just anyway. So where else am I? I think I'm almost done here. Right. And I mentioned that there is this person who interviewed me. His name is Andy Dehnart, who did an article for he did an article. He does reality shows. He's a reviewer of reality shows, which I didn't know was a thing, but apparently is a thing. And his article appears on Rotten Tomatoes. I'll try to put it in the description. I'll try to remember to put it in the description of this video if you want to read it. And it quotes me, and I'd forgotten that he'd interviewed me back in September. Gosh, was it on art? Wow. And I'm reading his review just the other preparing for doing this a day or so ago, and I'm going, oh wow, this guy's really spot on. And then I start seeing where he's quoting me about Tyler Henry, and I thought, oh, I remember this now. But this guy says, and I'm going to quote him. He watched the first episode and he says a considerable chunk of the 40 something minutes of the first episode were him, Tyler, saying things that went nowhere. And I would have to agree. Then he scribbles in his notebook as he tries to find a new vague topic. I would agree. The scribbling in the notebook is just a distraction and a way for him to think. Where am I going to go with this? He also talks about Tyler Henry on the Hollywood Medium show, the show he did where supposedly he doesn't know the people ahead of time, but I'm saying he's going in the house, he finds out who they are, then he goes and Googles them when he's got a private moment before they start the reading. And Andy says, Tyler shared private personal details that only someone with access to Wikipedia could know. And I thought that was so funny because, on Wikipedia, I'm a Wikipedia editor, and they've got that personal section way down at the bottom of the article. And that sums up everything right there, usually about whoever it is you're looking for. And I read a study and not so long ago, and they were talking about how the most viewed part of the Wikipedia page is the personal section. That's what people usually gravitate to when they're reading a Wikipedia page. So, okay, I'm going to end with this. And as I say in the article about the harm that's happening. So this guy in episode 4 is named Harry Jowsey, Jowsey, who was on the TV show Too Hot to Handle of the dating game. I said I looked him up afterwards, and he was just one of those bro guys, and he's talking about conquests and how much sex he has with all his the people on the dating game, and he was getting really intimate about it, and he was talking about what he was doing to the women, and he was there with a few other men, and they were just going on, and it was like being in a locker room. It was really kind of disgusting listening to these men talk about women like that and talk about their sexual prowess and everything. So after I watched that today, I thought, man, this guy, I have no sympathy for this man at all. He just disgusted me. But on the show that we just watched with Tyler Henry, he comes off as a really sweet guy and, just very connected to the people, his other co-hosts, and very warm and strong relationships with people. I'm thinking, this guy's what? He was on Dancing with the Stars, which I've never watched. Okay. So at the very end of the episode, Tyler has a talk with him and says, look, you're on the right track. You're doing well with your career. You should keep on going. And Harry says, I kind of feel like I should step back and, when I read all the comments from people on Instagram and stuff, and I kind of think maybe, I should go into something more serious or take some time off and take a break. And Tyler's like, no, you need to keep going further. We need people who will make people laugh. Comedy is important. And, the world that it is, we need a lot more comedians. You're doing really well. You're on this right trajectory. You should keep going. And, everything's great. I only see wonderful things for you. Tyler said the same thing about Matt Lauer, the one who was, after he did the reading for Matt Lauer, was arrested, or was he arrested? He was fired from his job at NBC because of all the horrible things he was doing to women and other people on his at the place. Tyler didn't notice that at all. He told him wonderful things, that your dad was looking, he was looking on you with pride. It's like, oh yeah, just a few months later, he's fired. Nobody went, he's a pariah. He's not doing well. His wife left him, kids, everybody's bad, bad. Anyway, so Tyler's telling Harry Josely, this, that, going on with your career and everything. Even though Harry's saying, I have a feeling I should pull back and I should take some time for myself. I mean, he's like 30 something years old, 32 or something. He's got a whole career in front of him. If he wants to take time out and take um, go on, travel the world, or learn to ride horses, or learn how to cook food, or whatever, build a house, have a family, spend more time with somebody, if he wants to do that, he's got time to come back. He really can. He could write a book, he could whatever. Tyler is speaking to a medium is a little bit like talking to a friend, right? But the problem is that Tyler is from the argument from authority. He's a person who's communicating with dead people, supposedly. So it's not like an equal peer-to-peer conversation. What do you think I should do with my life? No, this is somebody who's like, hey, the dead people that are watching over you, they say you should do this. So it's harmful. It's very harmful because Tyler doesn't really know this man well. How do you know that this is the best thing for this guy to continue with his career, to stay in comedy, to continue doing, taking up all these gigs that has you flying all over the world and, whatever. Maybe he needs to take time for himself. Maybe he's got something going on that needs to have some time off. That's what I'm saying. Now, this aired in September, I think, or September, October, the show aired. It was recorded probably in spring of 2024. What Tyler did not tell him is that your father's going to die this year. And his father, Harry announces on December 4th that his father dies. And no details or anything like that. But I don't think his father necessarily was an old man. He probably was in his 60s. That's pretty good. It's not like death is intimate any moment. It's not like he's, up there in the hundreds or something. But Tyler doesn't say anything about his dad. And he could, let's say Tyler's really psychic and he doesn't want to say your dad's going to die this year. Okay, maybe he doesn't want to say that. But if Tyler was really psychic and knew about the dad, he could have said, I think it's a good idea for you to spend some time to yourself and with your family. I think that you're going to have a great career in your future. You're a young man, and if you want to step back for a little bit of time and reconnect and remember what's important to you, and maybe spend time with your friends and family, maybe this is a good time to do it. Go back to your family and take a nice long vacation with them. I think that is what I'm hearing. So there's nothing wrong with um, a peer, like I say, telling somebody that who knows the person. I think you're kind of been overwhelmed, you've been stressed, you've been going through a lot. But Tyler making the statement, and then here's his dad dies. So there's some of the harm. It isn't always what the psychic says, it's what is inferred or what is missing. Because the person who believes, and this guy really believed, they assume that if the psychic doesn't say anything about it, then it's probably okay. In other words, let's say his dad's health had been bad. And he thought, my dad, he's been going through a really rough spot. Maybe he's had some serious heart issues or cancer issues, and we've been really frightened about it. But he doesn't want to say anything because he's on, live with to the world. or he's thinking to himself, if there's something that's going to happen, Tyler's going to pick up on it. And maybe Tyler didn't pick up on it because there's nothing is going to happen. My dad's going to be okay. So I'm going to take that job in Vegas and leaving my dad in Australia. And I'll skip a little bit, or maybe I'll go home for Christmas. I'll fly back for Christmas, but I'm not going to make it back for my dad's birthday this year or whatever because I'm working on my career, like Tyler said. When really what he could have been doing is spending some more time with his family. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't know. And Tyler doesn't know because neither of us are psychic. So anyway, this is a little longer than I wanted to do. I will put the link to the article I write for Skeptical Inquirer when it appears. I usually write the articles and then I wait a day or two and like look it over and think about it for a while. And then I'll ask to see if I can get it published. And I'll put a link in the description to this if in when it comes out. If Skeptical Inquirer isn't sick to death of me talking about Tyler Henry all the time. But I really appreciate you guys. I want you to know that it means a lot to me to be able to do these videos and to have, I feel like I'm speaking to you guys, whether you're here or not. It is, as you guys know, I've also had my partner died in August and I'm alone. Absolutely. My cats aren't even here. Not a cat in sight. So I know, and for me, I'm doing really well. I'm dealing with it really, really well. But I know a lot of people don't have the privileges I have, where I'm retired, I'm okay financially, I'm not, I have my own house, I have cats, I have family and people who love me, and people who check in on me, and my health is good, everything is great. I'm doing okay. And it wasn't like it was a surprise when Mark died. But an awful lot of people do not have it as good as I have it. And I think that doing these videos and writing about the psychic world, even though I started doing this years before I met Mark well, not years before I met Mark Edward, but back in the days when we were together 15 years. And I never would, I thought he was going to make it to 85. That was the deal. He was 12 years older than I was. And I said, "You're going to make it to 50, 85, or else we're not getting together." So I'm going to have a long history with you. And he didn't make it that long. But I really feel for these people who are going through grief and or questioning, they have cancer scares, they have issues in their life, they're worried about their children or their other loved ones, they're worried about finances, they're worried about their own health. Um, how am I going to, you know, get through the next few years? What's going to happen? And they seek out these psychics. And some people may be very, very skeptical their entire life, and then something happens to them, grief or, a job loss or some health issue, and then they go to this world where they feel like they need to have some kind of answers. And there isn't any easy answers out there, you guys. There isn't. And so we just have to, here comes a cat, it makes me laugh. He jumps in the room. He found a catnip toy and he jumps in the room on the thing as I'm having a very serious moment here with you guys. Get a cat or a dog. They are amazing. But my point is that I feel for these people, especially at holiday times. It's very hard. I put up Christmas lights today. I didn't want to put up Christmas lights, but I did it anyway. And I'm not getting a Christmas tree this year unless somebody walks in with one. And I love Christmas trees. And I I feel really bad for people that don't have anybody else to celebrate with. And it's so cruel what these mediums do to people. They think they're helping. They're not helping. They're making it worse. They're keeping people stuck. Anyway, I should sign off because I've been here for a long time and I didn't mean to go this long. But I wanted you guys to all know I really appreciate you. This little tiny community we're developing. And your comments have been very helpful and insightful. And as you give me comments, it makes me really think. And you talk about your life experiences, it makes me think. And I think it's helping me learn so much more about this world. And I appreciate that. And I want you guys to know that. So leave me lots of comments. I'm happy to read all your comments and I'll respond if I can. If it's something I can say that isn't just like, hey, good job. I appreciate it. Take care, everyone, and hope you have a wonderful holiday if I don't see you before then.